Oh, shoot. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back again to Pin the Gas Podcast. As always, I am your handsome host, Cool Jules, and I'm here with Kris, the whole effing show, Simko. And look what we have here, ladies and gentlemen. The unstoppable, the unbeatable, the SC Project, one of the anchors of the ship known as Motopg, with the official Pin the Gas nickname, the Grandmaster Tug McClutchin. Welcome to our show.
The Grandmaster.
The Grandmaster Tug McClutchin. How do you like that, man? It sounds like you're a DJ.
That's the best introduction I've ever had. I feel like Jay-Z or something. That's great.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Look at this. Look at this.
Grandmaster Tug. This is gonna be epic.
This is amazing. I'm gonna keep that there. I'm gonna keep that there for a little bit. But
okay.
Tug, it is great to have the Grandmaster on the show with us. We gave Boris the man god. What was your take on that one?
That was good. It was a good show. I enjoyed that one.
He literally is the man god. I mean, look at him. How tall is he? What is he like? He looks like he's like over 6 feet tall.
No, he's probably 6 feet, 5'11", something like that.
Oh yeah, all tatted up, beard. So man god fit. The Grandmaster.
He's certainly an imposing human, and it's Bori and I are both big boys, and we're both tatted
up, yeah.
And when the three of us are in the studio, it can be. I don't know if you listened to the last episode. Bori was talking about the studio being a safe place, and that's certainly not what it's ever been in my experience.
No, yeah, I listened to all the episodes for sure.
Y'all too big for that space.
And I'm a Patreon.
Oh, you're the man. You're paying for my beer.
You're welcome.
What's your beer of choice?
Look, there's a buddy of mine, and I don't want this to sound like a plug, but there's a buddy of mine that he used to be an IT genius and owned his own IT business, and then sold that and opened a brewery, because that's what all good motorcyclists do when they sell their business. So he owns a brewery called Source, and which is in Australia, we have a saying that if you're going to go out and get on the beers with your mates, we say you're going to go out and get on the sauce. So he called his brewery Sauce, as in tomato sauce or barbecue sauce or whatever. But and then he comes up with all of these different beers. So it's very boutique, but he makes some really good stuff.
Right, sauce here has a different meaning, but I won't get into that. Now, the last time we were with Motopg, it was when I was in California, and these guys called me, and I felt so bad because I was in the middle of sort of like a block party thing, and the time zones got me all like messed up. I was like, shoot. But nonetheless, I heard the audio. It didn't get any of the background noise. I was like, this is wonderful. Like, I can hear my bitch ass voice through you guys. I was like, this is great. And we were talking, and the vibe was just immaculate, and I had such a good time on your show. You guys were recording for how long? Like, you guys were on that podcast interviewing guests, and like, how long were you guys on there?
That was part of our summer sessions. We did a full day. So we did 7 interviews, 7 separate shows in one day. We recorded them all in one day and then spread them out. And we released them over the next few weeks, and we did that just during the summer break. Yeah. Or in the Northern Hemisphere, you guys would call it the winter break.
Winter break,
in the racing season. For us, it's the summer break. So we just did that just to keep some content going. But it's a good opportunity to catch up with a lot of racers and people in the industry outside of the season, because they've got some time to talk. And sometimes when you get them away from the racing season, they're a little bit more open to reflecting a little bit more openly on what's going on, because they're not quite as attached to it. So it can be a good time to do it. But it was a good fun day for us. We had a couple of cases of beer, and
just a couple.
We killed just a couple. Yeah, we killed it all during the day. So the last few shows that we did in the day were a bit messy, but it was good fun.
Is that where that Motopg drinking game come from?
No, that was I just did that one night. I was sitting here on the computer before the first round, just doing some work, and I just thought of it because Australians love drinking games. I'm sure you guys are the same. And so it's just any excuse really. But the good thing in Australia, most of the time the races are on. We get them very late on a Sunday night. So most of the European rounds we're watching. A lot of the time the MotoGP race will start at midnight. So for a lot of us, we sit there having a beer or having a whiskey or whatever while we're watching the races anyway. So it just seems to make sense. I don't know how many people got to work on Monday morning. There was a lot of people contacted me saying I need to take a sickie today because I got drunk last night playing binge drinking bingo.
I love it.
I got drunk playing. I told Tugs earlier yesterday when we had a conversation. I was like, I ended up playing it with a buddy of mine, and I got shit faced. I didn't realize it until I stood up, and I was like, let me sit back down for a minute. This might be my spot for the night right here. I ain't decided yet, so.
Yeah. No, I didn't have time to do one for this round, but I'll see if I can get one for you for Texas.
Absolutely.
I just want to add to the show that we had, because a lot of people were trying to get the inside secret on what Fredo looked like, and I told people whatever he looks like in your head is exactly what he looks like, because in my head it was exactly how he looked like. I was like, I was so spot on. I was like, dude, this is great, and I like how he keeps his identity, because he has the if nots and what nots of the business, right? So very cool on his part to be able to obtain this information, share some of it with us, probably more with you guys than with the rest of the world. It was just a fun time. We wish that you guys can come here to Coda, like that'd be so sick to have MotoPG / Pin the Gas at Coda. Like we would be fucking shit up.
We'd be drunk, get kicked out, and have a real story to tell.
Because I tell people, Australians on an international level, Australians are the closest to American we can get out there. So America, we claim Jack Miller.
You might as well. Yeah,
exactly. He's so American, it's ridiculous. Like how we claim Daniel Ricciardo. We'll claim Jack Miller.
Yeah, well, I think Australians. I mean, obviously, we Australians have a very close link to England, but it's not necessarily something that most of us are happy about. Like we don't look at England as though we're really fond of being part of that culture. We see it as pretty staid and conservative and all that kind of stuff. And we grow up. I mean, when I was a kid growing up, our TV diet was Charlie's Angels and MASH and
MASH. Dude, that was a great show. Yeah.
Was it really?
And Leave It to Beaver, believe it or not. Like we grew up on American television and very little from the UK. So our television here was always, when I was young, was Australian produced stuff, but the majority of it came from the US. So we and it still does. So we obviously have a very close tie culturally with America, because we grow up with that same kind of entertainment. So
right.
We are very, very close. I think when I look at other countries and other places around the world that I've been, the only other one that I can relate to that well is France. Really? I love when you go to France, and the French just have this bucket attitude. I love the French because it's like the government can go get fucked, and if they do stuff we don't like, we're going to go and burn shit. Sorry, am I allowed to swear on your show?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely. You can say it all.
So the French have that kind of attitude, which I really love. And for me, France and America. I must admit, when I do go to America, I've been to the US a few times, and you're always kind of thinking, I wonder if that guy's got a gun. Or
yes, we have guns.
We have guns.
Yeah, well, in Australia, we just don't have a gun culture. We, years ago, you guys have just had another one of those school shootings over there, which is tragic. But in Australia, we had the biggest mass murder one of the biggest mass murders in the world at a place called Port Arthur in Tasmania, where a lunatic went nuts and shot a whole bunch of people, including children, at a what used to be a convict settlement many years ago, and it's now a tourist attraction. But and when that happened, the government basically said, "Right, we're taking all your fucking guns," and we all went, "Okay."
There they are.
Well, the government did a big buyback thing, and all the semi-automatics and all of that sort of stuff. People just handed them in at the police stations and got paid for them, and they crushed them, and now you can still have guns if you need them. So farmers and sporting shooters and hunters and people like that are still obviously allowed to have weapons.
Right.
We don't use AR weapons over here. People don't carry assault weapons. But for hunting and things like that, you can still have guns if that's your thing and that's what you want to do. But it's not a part of our culture. So when we go to America, it's always because we see American TV. Every American TV cop show, like everybody's got a gun.
Well, say hello to my little friend.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
a lot of people do, yeah.
Speaking of the French fuck it mentality, that's kind of what Fabio is slowly adopting, right? That fuck this shit, whatever.
Fabulous.
The race today was an interesting one for Yamaha, to say the least.
It was a good race for Yamaha in a lot of respects, actually. Firstly, nobody has expected Frankie to turn his form around, and we've, on our show, we love Frankie. Frankie's one of my favorites.
Such a good guy.
In the paddock, he's just, and he's such a lovely human. He's just a beautiful person, and he's been struggling for 2 years now. So, I mean, you remember Frankie when he was in the Petronas team. He came second in the World Championship, but he was on the 2019 Yamaha, and Fabio or the factory team were riding 2020 bikes at that stage. So this is 2020 when Frankie had that really good year, but he was on the previous bike, and then when he moved into the factory team and jumped on the new bike, it was a different chassis, a different frame, and it's just never suited him, and it's never gelled with him, and I think Frankie's had a lot going on in his head in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, no doubt he's under pressure now. Yeah. The time's up. Frankie needs to get some results, and I couldn't be happier for him than to see 2 fourth places on the weekend. Fantastic results.
Me
for Frankie.
too,
It's not enough to keep him out of trouble. Like he needs to back that up now, and he needs to be at the pointy end consistently. But also the other thing, wet race today, and Fabio battling with Jack Miller at the end there. And Fabio doesn't like the rain. He hates riding in the rain, and Jack's one of the best. And Jack obviously had some grip problems the last half of the race. But for Fabio to be battling with him, especially after Fabio copped that bump early in the race and ended up at the back of the field to come back through. Yeah, good ride by Fabio. So Yamaha can take a lot out of that. They didn't get the results that they would have liked, but they can take a lot out of that race.
I agree. It was really good to see Frankie do well and back it up on Sunday too, as well as Saturday, right?
Absolutely.
It just goes to show too, like what you just said, his headspace. He's in a good headspace is where you need to be, right? It was magical, and I was happy for Bezecchi, man. I was like, dude, he ran. It was a epic race he did, start to finish. He got the lead on the first lap, and nobody challenged him.
I love your little heading there.
Morbid Deli. That's awesome. I want a sandwich.
Franco's Morbid Deli.
That's awesome.
I mean, if he continues to perform and get better, it'll become a very morbid deli for everyone else.
That's hilarious.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, he looked really good. The KTM, in my opinion, and this is just piggybacking off, because I caught like the last few laps and the first few laps, but piggyback offing the first race, Tugs, if you agree or not, the KTM power wise looks good. I think there's still a little bit of issues in the aero and the handling department. I think it's still a very wild bike to wrangle, but power, it looks great.
Yeah, power has never been KTM's problem. KTM knows how to build powerful motors. It's one thing we always know about KTM. Yeah, well, in the motocross world, yeah.
Especially with the SC project on it.
Yeah, well, the challenge for them is delivery, power delivery, and one of the things that Jack has been working on with the team and the new engineers that have come from Ducati is the mapping on those bikes and trying to get the power delivery to work a little bit better in order to preserve tyres and to deliver power the way Jack likes it. And Jack's a rider that doesn't like a lot of electronic intrusion into the bike. He likes to have control with his right hand, and Brad Binder's very similar. And so I think Brad will also get a lot of benefit out of another rider like Jack coming into the team, because Jack will be saying to them similar things to what Brad's been saying. So that they've now got two riders that have a not dissimilar style. They both like to throw the bike around. They both like it a little bit wild, and they both like it powerful. So that'll work well for KTM. But they're going to be, they'll have good weeks and bad weeks. They've still got some handling issues with that bike that they can't quite get right. They've still got issues about whether or not they can use a soft front tyre. Jack threw the soft front tyre on in the sprint race at Portimao last weekend, and everybody was blown away that he was prepared to go out on a soft tyre, because KTM traditionally have not been able to run a soft front.
That's right.
And Jack made it work for the first half of the sprint race, and then it started to go away. So you'll notice he ran a medium yesterday. He couldn't use the soft yesterday. But yeah, they've still got work to do. But their performances so far have been better than I think anybody expected they'd be, given their preseason form. So,
for sure.
All as well.
I also think go ahead, Tug. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say the big story for me is the Ducati non-factory teams and the performance of Grissini with Alex Marquez on the bike. This weekend, Alex was fantastic. He rode two fantastic races. And obviously the VR46 team. The red bikes are not appearing at the front, and the other Ducatis are. And I think all of those other riders with an extra year under their belt now, and Alex Marquez coming off the Honda onto the Ducati,
he looks so good. He does.
Boys, good. Just excuse me for a second. I'm just going to close these blinds.
No, you're good.
Yeah, you're good. Too much sunlight for him. It's making him look all shiny. So I'm just gonna leave this. I'm gonna leave this out here, and I want you guys to tell me what you think so far. Maybe a little too early to tell, but fuck it, I'm gonna shoot anyway.
Yes, I would say,
Marco Bazooka.
I think Bezzecchi, his natural talent's a little bit more, and it seems like he handles pressure better when he's under the pressure, and he's fast and he's consistent.
It's a little unfair. My bad. I just think it starts a good conversation. I think it's a little unfair because we haven't seen the beast on a factory go all out yet, but it's always good to speculate, right? And Marco's looking so damn good right now.
But the beast is not good at the beginning of the race. He's always comes on strong at the end. So I don't see him Saturday really. He probably will do good, but he's more of a Sunday man. Like
he's a grower, not a shower.
Right. But one thing I just want to touch on with Tugs real quick about KTM is I also think that one of their problems is they throw too many parts at it all the time, right?
Is it what? Sorry, I missed that.
I said I think one of KTM's issue was in the past, and I don't know if it's still like that, is that all the parts they throw at it all the time. Bringing 3-4 chassis a weekend during the race, and testing all these parts. I just think it kind of hinders a team in a way.
I think it depends on how you go about it. So the good thing for them is they've got a couple of good test riders there. They've still got Danny Pedrosa doing some work for them. And Jack and Brad are the kind of guys that I think they will like similar things in terms of the bike setup. So you'll probably find that when they start to get things right, both riders will probably like the same thing. So I think that's a good thing for them. Part of their problem in the past is they've had riders that both sort of want different setups. completely. And that makes it very hard for engineers to try and solve a problem when you've got, I mean, the problems that they had last year was the bike didn't really want to turn mid-corner, so mid-corner grip was an issue, and then rear grip on corner exit was an issue. So the problem is, over the off-season, they came up with some new chassis designs to try and resolve that, and just some variations, and there was a point there where they said, okay, well, we've resolved the rear grip issue, but now we've got a front grip issue. So you start to get those sorts of things. I mean, these bikes are a balancing act. It's a black art, and anything that you do to the rear end of the bike affects the front end of the bike, and vice versa. You know, so it is a difficult thing. I think what KTM now has is, with that extra expertise that they've picked up from Ducati, and the extra experience that they've got from Jack, who's actually obviously spent a lot of time on one. They now have a better idea of what they're chasing and what they need to do to get there. So I'm just going to move around. I've got the sun's come up here now, and I've got this weird light coming in through my window. So they've still got a lot of work to do. And there's some people getting excited, like you jump on the South African MotoGP fans page and things like that, and they're getting all excited about Brad's performance yesterday. And
shout out Ray.
There was a little bit of luck in that ride, you know. Like Brad, he started 15th, he was 4th halfway through the first lap, you know. So you can't really sort of say it was one of those rides where he skied his way through 14 people on the way to winning the race. Because,
he also had the perfect line from the start too.
That's right. So he started on the inside of the track, and he basically held tight on that first turn, which is it's a big hairpin, you know, and there was just carnage on the outside of him, and he held tight in that first corner, and everybody sort of fell away on the outside of him. So, look, it was a great ride, not taking anything away from it.
It was
but
an awesome ride.
You can point to that and say they've solved their problems, because they haven't. They've still got a lot of work to do.
Right.
Yes, they do.
What do you think? What do you think about the new aero developments for the whole rear wing thing? Because I know damn sure that the show hates all the extra wings and all that stuff. You know, hold on, because I can use this feature. Let me show you guys something. You know what the bikes look like to me nowadays. Hold on, here. Let me share this with you. Let me share something with you guys. You guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Look. This is exactly what goes in my head when I see those bikes with the gigantic wings in the back. Some Mario Kart stuff, man.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome.
It is a little too much for me, man.
That's great. Yeah,
I'm trying to find a spot on my desk where I don't have that.
Where the sun's not in your eyes.
Yeah. There you go. That's a bit better. I think I'm with Kris. I'd rather they got rid of all of it, to be honest. It's I understand why they do it and why they want it. They obviously want to try and keep the front end down and try and generate as much grip as they possibly can. Sorry, I'm going to move again. That's really annoying. There we go. This is a bit better. They're trying to generate grip, and but I go back to some of the iconic footage and photographs of guys like Mclutchin. There's a great photo of Mclutchin from years ago coming out of the corner on the NSR 500 Honda with the front wheel in the air, crossed up, and smoke pouring off the back tire. Yep. I remember the days when, and even when I was, very, very young, and I rode a little bit of superbike and did some production racing and stuff. And even in those days, you come out of a corner and you've got to climb all over the front of the bike to try and keep the front end down. And these guys aren't having to work like that anymore. It's a little bit
because all the electronics.
Yeah, all the assists.
Between the electronics and the wings and the lowering devices, it's different. And it was part of the talent of riding a bike, was being able to create mechanical grip. And I don't know if you guys know the story about when Casey Stoner first went to Honda, when he left Ducati and went to Honda and turned up at the Valencia test. And after half an hour, he still hadn't gone out on track. And the head guys at Honda have come down to the pit to know what's going on. And Casey was just refusing to ride. is basically saying you turn all the electronics off or I'm not going out.
Yep.
And the engineers were saying, well, we can't do that. It'll kill you. Like, we just paid, tens of millions of euros for this guy. We're not going to kill him at the first test. But Casey's attitude is basically he needs to understand how to help the motorcycle create as much grip as he possibly can using his body and his inputs into the bike, and how to ride the bike in a way that creates the most mechanical grip that he can, so that when you start to introduce the electronics, they don't chime in as early and they help you get the best out of the bike. Whereas if you're a rider that just sort of comes out of a corner and just lights it up without working on your body position and working on all of these things to help the bike generate as much grip as it can, then, that's why Casey was so good, because he understood how a motorcycle works and how to make it work better than anybody else. But I'd love to go back to those days. I think there's a few guys riding around at the front of the field at the moment who might not be there, and there's a few guys riding around mid-pack who might be at the front.
Yep, I agree. I wish they would do away with all electronics and let's get to it. But to me, Casey Stoner had the most talent of any racer I've ever seen. And we missed the era of the Stoner Marquez duel, right? And the Rossi and the Doohan duel, right? Which would have been awesome to see because Doohan retired at the end, when Rossi was really coming in, and obviously, Stoner retired in 2012, the year before Marquez. Well, he come in. So we never got to see that duel. I wish we would have. Touching base on like flat track style and why it don't work no more in MotoGP, right? And me and Tugs had this conversation before.
It looks cool in slow motion.
Well, it's back in the day before all the motorcycle had all these massive electronics on it. Yeah, cocking it sideways and still going momentum. It helped ride the bike, right? But now all these electronics they started introducing, that style don't work no more. That's why we don't see a lot of American riders in MotoGP right now.
Well, and talking about that's exactly right. And talking about Casey is a really good segue into that. I mean, Casey Stoner is one of the most successful junior dirt trackers Australia's ever seen. Casey was winning national and state titles all around Australia as a dirt tracker. I first saw Casey ride when he was 9 years old on the dirt, and he just hosed them, just absolutely hosed them. The kid was so much better than anybody else. We used to watch him as a 10-year-old and say, this kid's going to be a freak, and clearly he was, and you could spot it back then. You knew it. So because he was racing against guys that were good. He came through at a time where there was a bunch of really hot junior dirt trackers come through, and he was head and shoulders above them. So, and you talk to guys like Alex and Damien Cudlin, who, Damien raced MotoGP. Alex won 5 Qatar Superbike World Champions, World Championships. They won World Endurance Championships. They talk about Casey because they grew up on the north coast of New South Wales. They talk about Casey coming to their place on weekends and, didn't have the experience that they did as little kids, and they were just in awe of how he used to ride. So people knew a long time ago what Casey was, but you're right. Back in the 500 days when there was no traction control, you needed to know how to ride a bike sideways in order to be fast. And that's where the Americans and the Australians who grow up on the dirt, we learn to slide a motorcycle as kids. That's just part of how we grow up. And these days, it's a different world. I mean, you go back to the two-stroke era, and the Europeans used to grow up riding still do, riding little 50cc bikes on tarmac. There's not a lot of dirt riding in Europe. They get onto the tar very, very early, and so they learn all about high corner speeds, maintaining corner grip. The problem for them was they didn't learn how to slide a motorcycle. So when they get onto they move from a 125 to a 250, and all of a sudden the 250 starts to slide around. It's got a lot more power, and a lot of them just didn't make it to the 500 class because they just couldn't handle that style of riding, Whereas the dirt trackers, that's how you used to ride a 500. You'd fire it in, brake late, turn it, point it, shoot it, and then power slide it on the way out. And that suited the Australians and the Americans, and we've lost that. And I'm not sure how we get that back. I mean, in Australia, we've followed, in terms of junior development, we've followed the model that Europe has. So we now have something called the Oceania Junior Cup, which is the young kids on 125 Yamahas or 150 Yamahas, whatever they are, and then that starts to feed into the Asia Talent Cup. So we're starting to get that whole Red Bull rookies kind of feel going for junior road races. But it's not that long ago that in New South Wales, which is the largest state in Australia, juniors weren't even allowed to ride on a tarmac circuit until they were 16.
Wow.
So that was a rule that everybody thought was something to do with the state government in New South Wales. And I was actually one of the people that got involved and got that all changed. And so that we could allow juniors to get on the tar earlier. And we're now starting to see a bunch of young kids come through and move into some of those talent cup things around the world, and you'll start to see that happen now. So Senna Aegis is probably the first of them. So Senna hit Moto2 last year with a couple of fill-in rides and did very well. Senna would be in Moto2 this year if it wasn't for Dorna having changed the age limits. And Senna's the first one to come through from those rule changes in Australia here to allow the kids through. So, and then there'll be some more following him. So you'll start to see more Australian talent come through. I think in America, you need to find a way to get something similar happening.
I think
we have a similar program out here that John Hopkins John's a good boy. Yeah, that they had started. I mean, it's not something that you see in the magazines still all the time. It's something that we need to help promote and broadcast, right, and get more people involved. Tugs, and what I like to do is every time I go to a Moto America race, I take somebody brand new that's never been there, you're right, in real life, that actually seen it, right, up and close and personal. And one thing about Moto America is, and I don't know if it's like this at Australian Superbike, but when you buy a weekend pass, you don't have to have a pit pass. You literally walk right up to any team you want in truck and get a picture and autograph with any rider. You don't have to buy a special pass or a pit walk or anything like that.
That's true.
We're similar here. It's good because it gets people close to the action, and that is important. And the other thing that's really good in Australia, and I'm sure you have it over there too, is we have the juniors. So we have the Oceania Talent Cup. We then have an R3 Cup sponsored by Yamaha, where everybody's riding Yamaha R3s. And then we also have the 300 Supersport class, as well as the 600 Supersport class, but they're all in the same paddock.
Right.
So the juniors coming through have access to our superbike riders as well. So they're all in the same place. They're all mingling. And the superbike riders are really good at getting involved with the young guys and going down and helping, and girls, and helping them and giving them advice and support and making them feel part of it, which is a really
awesome.
Part
yeah, it process. Is. Yeah. It is. And also one thing that we lack here too, that we really need to do is have a real spec cheap class of racing, right? Where like our Twins Cup was supposed to be a cheap way of entry level racing, right? But it turned into a, SBO7s with $10,000 motors. So basically, if you didn't have an $80,000 budget or plus a year, you're not going to be in the top 5, right?
Yeah.
But we really need a class that's like super cheap. What I mean by that is bone stock, whether it's a 300, a 250, whatever it is. It's got to be completely stocked. The only thing you can do is like fork springs and rear springs. That way you could set your suspension up to you, right? Other than that, that's it. In tires.
Yeah, we're similar. So we've just introduced. Sorry, I've just opened that window. The sun's
moved
a little bit now, so I can.
You're good.
We've just introduced a Pro Twins class here, which is for the Yamaha R7. Some of the older bikes like a Suzuki
SV650, right?
Bikes like that. So, and the Aprilia RS660. So
which is
challenge
beautiful.
then is
such a great
it's a lovely motorcycle.
Gorgeous.
And the challenge then is trying to get some parity between those bikes and not set it up so that the rules don't allow people to go spending a lot of money, because as soon as you let a production class become a money fest, it dies. It's just a great way to kill a class,
That's our Twins Cup.
But at the same time, the other side of that argument is that it does make the class more of a spectacle, right? Like the racing is it's still really, really good. I mean, we have Kayla Yakov in that division. I think she could definitely make a splash in the Rookies Cup if they give her a shot.
Yeah, Kayla Yakov is shout out to her. She's super fast. She's gonna break a lot of people's hearts this year. I'm telling you, she is a lot of boys' hearts. She's gonna break. But yeah, for real, man. But yeah, Tugs, it's something that it like over there in British Superbike, right? Because I got friends over there, and they had that CB 500 class, which I think is mega, right? That's awesome, man. To have a class like that, right? Older bike that don't cost a lot of money. You're not. It's low cost. It's cheap. It's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I used to race many years ago. We had a class here called Super Street, and there was a lightweight and a heavyweight. Lightweight was the 600 class, so all the 6-cylinder, 4-cylinder, the 600 4-cylinder Japanese bikes.
Yeah, look,
yeah, and then you had the 750s in the heavyweight class, but I mean, basically with those bikes, all you were allowed to do was change the muffler can, change the jetting in the carbs, and change the fork springs. That's it. It was internals in suspension. That's all you were allowed to touch. And other than that, don't spend any money. Yeah. They were trying to even discourage you from running race fuels, trying to get people to run standard fuels and things like that. It all helps to keep costs down, and that's a really important part. Particularly at club level, because one of the problems you have is all of these rules are replicated from national level down through club level. They have to run the same rule book. So as soon as things get too expensive, club racing starts to die, and club racing is where they come from. Yep. That's where they start. So if it's too expensive to run club racing, and there's already enough trouble with club racing in Australia with the cost of circuit hire, to rent Eastern Creek for a weekend. Eastern Creek's one of our main circuits. It's really the only racetrack in all of New South Wales. We have one racetrack at the moment, and that's Eastern Creek. It costs clubs about $60,000 a weekend to hire that track. And when you've only got 150 competitors across all classes, man, it makes for an expensive weekend.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And then that's also the track Miller races at every year too, is Eastern Creek, correct?
When he comes home.
Yeah, when he comes home. And then Eastern Creek races at? The Bend. Yeah, the Bend. That's right.
Yeah.
What was that? Was that the track that he was racing that he was racing ASBK on?
Yeah, that's the Bend in South Australia.
Yeah.
That's a relatively new. Yeah, it's a pretty new place actually. It's only built a few years ago.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
That sun's come back out again now, killing me. Yeah.
it gives the other Australian riders a chance to beat on their hometown hero. Like I wish we had an American to come home and Cameron Bobier is going to be that guy we're going to beat the shit out of once he gets here. But other than I'm serious, dude's got a target on his back.
Yeah, he does.
Well, it'll be interesting this year because it's been easy for Jack to come home. Well, not easy because he's had to build a bike to race on.
Yeah.
Or two of them,
so
and it's always a little bit harder for Jack because he's not allowed. Because he's a MotoGP rider, he's not allowed to ride a full spec superbike.
Correct.
Under the MotoGP rules, so he's got one hand tied behind his back when he comes back here in races. But he doesn't come here to win. He comes to he did. He comes here to have a good weekend and support all the people around him and support the sport, and it brings a lot of people to the track, which is great for ASBK, and it's just a fantastic thing that he does. I'm not sure what he'll do this year because KTM don't have a motorcycle that he can ride.
They don't.
Time to dig out that. What is that? What was it? The RC8. Time to dig that bitch out of the grave.
Yeah. Well, there's done a new version of that. So.
Didn't they come out? Oh, but it's not technically a super. It's not. That's
an RC8. Yeah. It's not.
The name. The bike that the KTM bike that they only made a few of the super bike that came out like last year.
It's not eligible to actually race though.
And that bike's only like an 890cc. Am I right?
I think it's running the old
890. Yeah. I think it's an 890, but and that thing's a beautiful bike, right? And it's expensive. It's like what, $40,000 or $50,000? Yeah.
This thing right here. Hold on.
It is a lot of money. That's right. It really is a lot of money, man.
It's pretty much a track bike only, but for a train super bike, you need to homologate them. They need to be a road based.
We're talking about this one, right?
Yeah,
this one right here. Yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah. She's a beauty too.
You got this old one. Yo, this is one of my dream bikes. Actually, I would love to own me one of these. Look at this joker right here.
Yeah, go and ride it.
It looks like Jorge. Yeah, go on and ride it before you say it. Yeah,
dude's like only like 4 inches taller than the actual bike. But let me stop hating, because I was dreaming to own one of those bikes.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, it's definitely cool. I saw the race, except YouTube only uploaded it in like 144p, but it was great. It's cool to see again the hometown heroes just come through and just duke it out with the boys, and I'm pretty sure everybody was salivating at the bit trying to get past them. So that's some badass shit.
Yeah, it's good. It's good for the sport. And it's great to see Jack do it. I hope he can find a way to ride this year. Maybe KTM will let him paint his old Ducati orange and take it out there.
Put KTM stickers all over it. That'd be awesome.
Something like that. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's
gas livery on it.
Well, the other event Jack always does, which you might know about when he comes home at the end of the year, is the North Brisbane Cup. So he's been riding in the last round of ASBK, and then he goes to Brisbane in Queensland and rides in the North Brisbane Cup, which is a dirt track event.
Yep.
So he goes and rides flat track on a motocross bike.
Yep.
And he's been riding a KTM the whole time, even when he was, because obviously Ducati don't have a dirt bike. So he was always riding a KTM painted black, and that everybody knew what it was. And,
they got the Scrambler. You know, does that count?
The Scrambler, yeah, right.
The Scrambler. I'm pretty sure he can make some magic on that thing.
Then I know Petrucci did the same thing when he was with Ducati. He always rode on the dirt, and his bikes were KTM.
We don't talk about Danny P out here in America.
He's banned.
We got
we do. Yeah, we talk about him. That's awesome.
I was so excited when Petrucci went to the US. I think that was fantastic.
These the tracks are shit
over there.
These tracks are not good. These are the shit. Like,
well, they are shit. He's right.
Yeah, but they are.
But I tell you what it did do is it brought worldwide attention to American Superbike. Everybody was paying attention to see how he went, and even though they were tuning in to see how he went, they also got to watch everybody else there. You know? So yeah, it was good for American racing. So.
Yes, it was.
Moto America's doing the right things. I mean, and we preach it all the time on this show, because obviously we talk about Moto America because we're trying to promote our sport as well. They're doing all the right things in terms of like their presentation and the whole Pressure to Rise thing on YouTube. Their whole documentary series definitely kicks the shit out of the Amazon garbage that MotoGP came out with.
It's horrible.
And Petrucci was definitely one of the faces of Pressure to Rise. Obviously, you got to ride the wave, right? But like he single-handedly made himself like the heel of America. Like he was literally the most hated man in American racing, and it was the greatest.
The memes that went around Tugs on Facebook of Danilo was awesome, bro. It was mega. But
yeah,
you know what?
Hey, everyone needs a villain, yeah.
It is, and it's much respect to him too, because we all know how fast he is, right? And yeah, what he did for our sport is good. Same thing with Boz, right? When Loris was here, which I wish Loris would have got a second year. And I understood why he wanted to go back to the world stage, but at the same time, it helps promote us, and also
he was going to lose his life here.
They see how fast we are over here in America, right? They show up thinking they're going to whoop our ass. They show up, and then Jake Gagne gives it to him. They're like, "Hold up, wait a minute."
Which Jake didn't do that bad on the international circuit. I mean, according to who do we speak with? He was talking about how the Fresh and Lean Attack Yamaha bike wasn't too far off like Toprak's bike. Apparently,
I don't know
if I believe that though.
When they did that World Superbike race last year, right? Yeah, Dustin Coyne, our friend. So
it was Dustin. Okay,
it was Dustin. Yeah, I think the bike was down on horsepower, and it was down like 18 or 20 miles an hour. if I remember correctly.
It was like, it's not that far off
from a Moto America bike to the World Superbike, but
same in Australia. Our superbikes in the Australian superbike class are very much underpowered compared to the World Superbike. Just different rules, and it's the same for your guys in America. And the budget, they don't have the money to spend, to get that sort of power out of them. So, but I think, and Patrick copped a lot of flack for some of the comments he made about the circuits in America and things like that. And but here's the thing:
we know
he was right.
Yeah,
he's right. It's good for your sport. So it's good for the administrators of the sport in America to have an international rider of his standing come there and say those things, because it gives them then the opportunity to go to state governments and to different places and say, look, we need more funding, we need this. This is the feedback that we get when serious people come here and look at what we've got. And America always loves to be the greatest country in the world. You can use that and say, go to government and say, man, we need support. We're not the greatest in the world at this. We've got the greatest riders. We produce the most talented people in the world. There's no reason why. I mean, you go back 20 years and you've got the Wayne Rainey's and Kevin Schwantz and Kenny Roberts and Eddie Lawson and all of these guys, right? Like America can still produce that talent.
Yes,
there's no doubt about that. You've just got to have the process, and you've got to have the facility. If you don't have the facilities for people to train and race at, then they will never reach the world stage, because it's too much of a jump. You need your local facilities in America. It's like us. We're fortunate in Australia. We don't have enough racetracks. So New South Wales, as a state, we have one road race track now in Eastern Creek, and we had another one called Wakefield Park, which is closed at the moment, but it was a goat track anyway. But we have Phillip Island and we have the Bend. So we have we have three international standard tracks that guys can use. Eastern Creek's not homologated as an international circuit at the moment, and probably a touch off it, but it's a good track, good venue. So we have those facilities for people to ride at, so that when they go to Mazzano, it doesn't feel too out of place, because we have tracks that are similar.
When we were talking with Luke Power, when he had his little stint here, Jedi Mind Trick, by the way, shout out to Jedi Mind Trick, Luke Power.
Shout out.
When he was racing here, he said that he enjoyed the layouts. I think the layouts are okay, but the actual track conditions are complete garbaggio. So it begs the question, like, what if we had the same layouts, maybe slightly different, but with better track conditions? I wonder how fun our tracks would be then. Because some of our track layouts are freaking awesome. But
the problem is they have to rearrange in order to have more run out room in corners, right? Which costs millions of dollars to do. So you'd have to find the sponsorship and all that snazzy jazz shit that goes along with it.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, it's government money that needs to come in, and either that or massive private investors. And there's not a lot of money in investing in racetracks.
No, it's not.
Particularly in America. I mean, all of your racing is NASCAR and IndyCar. That's where the money is. Look, we're
fucking garbage.
Let's go,
we're the same in Australia. Yeah, so in Australia we have something called V8 supercars, and those of us that are into bikes call it the super taxis, because it's like NASCAR. It's a base chassis, and they just put different bodies on it, and all of these idiots that are
go nuts.
I'm a Ford supporter. I'm going to support the Ford. It's like it's the same as every other fucking car in the. Just stop it. You're being fucking stupid. But that's where all the money goes, and there's so much government money goes into that sport.
I think you guys have a semi-truck racing too. I think I saw.
He's like, "Ooh, I'm Ricky Bobby."
I swear there was a semi-truck league in Australia.
Didn't Casey Stoner race the V8 supercar? Didn't he test for them at one time at one stage?
Yeah, Casey,
after he retired,
did a little bit.
Yeah.
We've had a few. Wayne Gardner was actually quite successful as a V8 supercar driver when he finished, and
he was.
Australian motorcycle racers have a habit of going to V8 supercars and doing very well, and Oh, the truck. Don't get me started on the fucking truck.
Dude, don't show that here in America, goddammit. You're going to start another revolution.
Yo, imagine they start this in America and they just generate millions of dollars. I would be so
that last photo that you had up there, that was Wakefield Park. And the big photo on the right, that was at Wakefield Park. And one of the reasons Wakefield Park it became a shithole was because they let the trucks race on it. And the truck
guaranteed.
And the truck
tears them up.
It's terrible racing because they can barely overtake each other. They pump out plumes of this horrendous smoke and they destroy tracks. And when they want to overtake, they just cut the corner and they drag like 7 tons of dirt onto the track when they do it. And they just destroy the place.
It's like a whole bunch of Optimus Primes racing each other. Like it's so bad.
But you'd be pleased to know it. I don't even know if it still exists. To be honest, I haven't seen truck racing around for quite a while. I don't know if anybody still does it.
It was hilarious. I went on a YouTube rabbit hole just watching semi-truck racing. I was like,
that's hilarious.
It's hilarious, dude.
Tugs, were you ever a fan of Matt Mclutchin?
Yeah, love Matt.
Yeah, me too.
Love Matt.
Too. Yeah,
Who's that?
I actually have a photo of Matt and I when Matt was racing for Team Kawasaki Australia. So Matt came through. Matt was again dirt rider, and he came through the 250 production class in Australia back when the 250 Proddy class was RGV 250s and Aprilia RS 250s. And Matt in the 250 Proddy class, when he first turned up, he wore this outrageous set of brightly colourful leathers and just hosed everyone. And it was a really competitive class with some really top guys in it who a lot of them went on to do good things. And that Matt made them all look second rate. And then he went to Superbike with Team Kawasaki Australia. He went straight onto a factory Superbike with Peter Doyle as his chief tech. Yep. And Matt was one of the great things about Matt is, and again, this is because of his dirt track background, incredibly fast on cold tires. He was the kind of guy that would have a 2-second lead at the end of the first lap. Yep. And this is back in the days when you didn't have tire warmers on the grid and all of that sort of stuff, Yep. Cold slicks, for anyone who's done any racing, cold slicks are dangerous. They're worse than road tires in terms of grip. Once they get hot, they're fantastic. But when they're cold, they're horrendous. Yeah. But Matt was one of those guys who could get heat into those tires fast and ride them cold and get the best out of them. And I saw him in a race at Eastern Creek once. He fried his clutch off the line and basically went to the back of the field and rode the rest of the race with no clutch and won easily. And then obviously went to the US and
cleaned house.
Cleaned house.
Dude, fucking cleaned house. For years.
How long ago was this?
Yeah. Oh, a long time ago now.
Yeah. 95, 96, 97, 98, 99.
Like
that.
Back road.
Well, and interestingly, his crew chief
in early 2000s.
Australia. Yeah, his crew chief Peter Doyle went with him, and they ran the Yoshimura Suzuki team over there and won everything for a long time. And,
everything.
That guy Peter Doyle is now actually the CEO of Motorcycling Australia. Yep. So he runs racing here in Australia. He's a good guy. So
it took Ben Spies to dethrone Matt Mclutchin.
Took something special.
Good old Ben Spies.
Yeah, Ben Spies. But man, I'm telling you, Jules, back in the day, watching Mclutchin, 99, 2000, 2001 on those GSXR 750s and 1000s it was something magical. He was like the Mamba. He hit every line, every corner on the same exact line from lap to lap to lap to lap to lap, and it was just one thing I loved about him. This was before, as traction control started to kind of make its way in some, right, where you still use the clutch a lot, right, and you could always see him just feathering that clutch coming in and out of those corners all the time, and he was just he whooped everybody's ass. Point being,
that was his motocross skills, Yep. Yeah, again, that's his dirt riding background, and but he had a great time in America. Made a lot of money. He went, he rode 500s for Kajiva for a little while. Went to the World Championship, and that thing nearly killed him.
Yes,
and he went back to America.
I remember that.
And Yeah, made more money in America than he did going and riding in the World Championship.
Well, that was back when money was to be made in America and everywhere else, right?
Now
it's not like that.
Makes me quite interested on how much the top riders in Moto America are being paid right now. You know what I mean?
I have no idea.
I would imagine there's probably only a handful that are getting paid.
I was going to say maybe maybe 4 or 5, if that. Yeah,
you can name them straight off the list. Like who you think is getting paid?
Look, in Australia, our the guys that win our Superbike championships have to have jobs. It doesn't. You don't pay the bills racing in Australia. So most people on the grid, even in the Superbike class here, are paying their way. They're putting money in.
Yeah.
If you had to have like a guess on who you think would be premier class talent coming from your end, I'm not saying that they will be, but like who do you think has that start potential? Because I want to do more research on riders outside of fucking Spain and Italy to see who would be like the next one to go. You know what I mean? So who do you think?
Yeah, there's a couple coming through. So Senna Aegis will be the first one that you'll see on the world stage. So I expect Senna to be in Moto2 next year. I wouldn't be surprised if Senna's already got a deal. He'll race the Junior World Championship again this year. He came second in that last year, I think. He has to do it again because of his age.
Right.
So Senna would have been in Moto2 this year. He can't go to Moto3 because he's too tall. He's too big. He just wouldn't be competitive on a Moto3 bike. He's too big for them now. But he's a highly intelligent young guy. He's very, very smart. And he's a beautiful guy too. He's just a lovely kid. But I think you'll find him in Moto2 next year, and he'll be someone to watch. He'll be competitive straight up. He will go into a good team, and he will be competitive.
Shout out Senna.
You've got there's another young one called Hunter Thompson coming through. And then there's probably another 4 or 5 that are just below that. And any of them could, with the right opportunities and the right luck and the hard work and the dedication and the finance, you need the money. If they can. What kind of dog is that? Have you got a wolf?
I got he is Tugs. Listen, he is a pit bull Tennessee Walker Hound mix, and he's
a bear,
dude. I'm telling you, dude, he's awesome though. He is awesome. But here in America,
right here, hold on,
the husky, I see him. He's beautiful.
That butt wipe over there.
Yeah.
Oh, so you have got a wolf.
He does, right. But here in America, to me, would be Rossi Moore. I don't know if a lot of people's heard of him. Tugs, I don't know if you heard of him. But
I was just going to
watch the Northern Talent Cup, right, which is huge, right? The Northern Talent Cup, a lot of people don't know it is one of the most prestige cups there is in the world, right? As far as racing, they go to Moto3. They venture everywhere from there, right? So Rossi Moore, he's an American, and he won it last year. He got hurt and he's coming back, so he is super fast to show up and to ride with those boys. And not only that, just go back, Tugs, and Rossi Moore Northern Talent Cup, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
I'll go have a look. Here's another Aussie for you guys to have a look at, who's in America in flat track, doing AMA flat track. His name's Tom Drain.
So
Tommy, Drane. So Tommy's I think he's only 16. He might be 17 now. Tommy's another similar to Casey Stoner as a young flat tracker, won everything. And he switched to road race last year or the year before. Did a year in 300s, went to 600s last year. Did okay. That's Tommy. And he's now scored himself a ride in America in the 450 singles class with Yamaha.
Nice.
Sheesh.
Yeah, so Tommy actually went to America as a junior dirt tracker, did a trip over there a couple of years ago, and handed all your juniors their asses in flat track. He went
very
over
nice.
He went over and I think he won the championship over there, or won something. I can't remember, but he just belted them. But Tom's a good kid, and he was kind of at that point of his career where he was going to have to choose: do I stick it out with a road race, or do I go and chase the American flat track dream? And he was offered the opportunity because he went over last year. So while he was road racing, he still went to America last year and did a couple of rounds in flat track and did very well, won some races. And so he's been offered this ride, so he's decided to take it. So keep your eye out for Tommy. And don't be surprised if Tommy does some road race while he's over there too.
Very
you know
nice.
what? If he becomes successful, we're claiming him as Americans.
We're taking him.
Luke Power, that goes to you too, man. The moment you touch American soil, we're claiming you.
And we got guns.
Except for Rory Skinner. I don't know if I claim him yet. Do you claim him, Kris? Do you claim
I claim you, Rory. I got you, brother.
Do you
come
really?
on over? Yes, I claim Rory. Man, Rory listen. Dude, Rory Skinner, dude, is mega fast. And British Superbike, are you kidding me, dude? Yes, Rory Skinner.
Okay, that's amazing.
Absolutely.
Has he ever been to America? That's the point.
I don't know. Who knows? There's a lot of Europeans that actually come over here on vacation.
Chris.
So
he doesn't count.
I still claim him. Rory Skinner, I still claim you.
But yeah, it's only 8 hours away from America to Europe, right? So
right.
You guys are lucky. You're not like us. We're like 17 days away from everywhere.
That's true.
Tugs, did you see our new sponsor for the American racing team?
No.
OnlyFans.
Oh, we got sponsored by OnlyFans, bro. It's
imagine that, baby.
You think I'm hold on. Where is it?
That's fantastic.
That's fucking awesome.
American.
It is.
There was a I've got to go back about 10 years, I think, but Pornhub sponsored an Australian racer at one stage, and there was a bit of an outcry, and they had to give up the sponsorship. They weren't allowed to run it, I think. So
look at that smile. You look at SDK's smile. Come on,
that's funny. Has he got his own page?
Huh?
Has he got his own OnlyFans page?
I don't know, and I don't want to find out.
Yeah, I don't know. He might.
Look at that. That's a happy man.
That's great.
So that's awesome.
Sean Dylan Kelly, right? I tell people all the time that I'm throwing my bank at Sean Dylan Kelly to be our next American hero. I mean, he looks like one. Look at that. He's got the square jaw. He's got the white teeth. He's got that Garrett Gerloff before he became a mop head.
He could be the next Superman.
Look at the next Superman. Exactly what I was thinking.
What America looks like, and he's Argentinian.
He's a beautiful man. You're right. He is part Argentinian, isn't
he? Yeah. But they both completely shit the bed this weekend, and. Like
man,
I said,
it's tough in that class, man. It's tough in Moto 2. You got to understand, man. It's us Americans, and this is another thing where we fall short too, man. Is we don't have purebred race bikes. We grow up on production bikes, right? Then you go there to the Moto 2 class where the fucking chassis is stiffer than your cock's ever been, and you're trying to fucking figure the thing out.
I'm still 28, Kris. We're still going strong. I don't know who you talking about, but I'm still going strong, my boy.
Me too, but I was referring to how stiff the chassis is, right, on those Moto 2 bikes versus a production bike, right?
It's
oh man, completely. The way you got to load it to get the grip, the mechanical grip, it's just it's unlike the way you ride a production bike, right? And some people get to it and they take off like a duck in water. Other people take 2-3 years. Other people, after 4 or 5 months, they're booted out because it's such a cutthroat fucking industry. So, yeah, we'll see.
Stiffer than Viagra. My God.
Stiffer than Viagra. I love it.
But I've never done a show with subtitles before. So.
Well, this is good. This is good. Well, this is this is the first time we use StreamYard. We used to use Riverside.
Riverside,
yeah. So
we're pushing the envelope on what we can do in terms of YouTube. Spotify, we're still trying to work out the kinks on Spotify, but YouTube, we make it fun. And this is great that we're able to do this. You know what I mean? Like just put a little stupid banners and whatnot, being able to share screens. But yeah, man, like if it is a very, very difficult class, but the reason why I have so much faith in Sean Dylan Kelly is because the way he raced here, even when he was injured, I think it was 2020. Even when he was injured, this dude came back and won the last half of the season just over and over and over again, and then completely destroyed the 2021 season. So I have a lot of faith in him. But Cameron Bobe did the same thing too, right? But he did the same thing for Superbike.
He did
when he got here, it looked promising, Coda was phenomenal for him that 1 year, and then just all of a sudden, he just got burnt out.
I mean, same thing, man. We don't know what goes on behind the garage, how much adjustments they actually allow them to do, the type of money they have for backing. Yep. I mean, it's all that's got to play with how well a rider does, right? It's a tough class. It really is.
Yeah, and don't underestimate how technical those Moto2 bikes are.
Exactly.
A lot of people think they're simple compared to a MotoGP bike, and they are, but they do still have a lot of technology on them. And when a rider first is confronted, like you were talking about the difference with a chassis, where you go from 600 class in America or the superbike class in America to a Moto2 bike, it's a whole different world of bike setup. It takes a while to learn that, and some riders are more technically minded than others. Some guys will adapt to it pretty quickly. Others take a long time, and some never do. It's really interesting. We had on our podcast, we had Simon Crayfar on a little while ago, and we were talking about Jorge Martin, and he's one of the most blindingly fast guys out there, but doesn't have a lot of idea when it comes to bike setup, and he's not a technical rider, whereas there's other guys like, there's an Australian guy from many years ago, Peter Goddard, who raced World Superbikes and won World Endurance and things like that. And Peter was an engineer. Yep. Peter worked for Olin's as a test rider and engineer. So you get that massive variation in riders. Some guys will come in and say to the team, it's pushing the front. I want you to do this to it. Give me, another half turn of preload and 2 clicks of this and whatever. And then other blokes will just come in and can barely describe what's wrong with the bike. They and that's why they struggle with setup, because they can't even quite figure out what's wrong with it and what it's doing, let alone know how to fix it. But if you can't communicate to your team, they don't know how to fix it. So
I agree 100%. And Jorge does got blazingly fast natural talent, right? He just it seems like he's lost in his own head, right? He is a freak. You're right, he's a freak.
The problem for Jorge is he's so fast that the limit comes up very quickly.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Shit. Oh, there's the bear.
There he is. There's Cruz. Come on, you want to say hi?
Bring him up. Bring him up on the show. Pick him up.
Look, there he is. You can say hi to Tugs.
Jesus Christ, look at that polar bear.
Oh, my
That's
boy.
a cool dog.
Oh, dude, thank you. He's awesome. All right, come on.
I know Australia has like a whole bunch of scary creatures. Like you be getting tarantulas in your house and stuff like that, right? I'd be seeing those TikTok videos, man, of like the I saw this one guy walk to his high school in Australia, and above him was like a loom of spiders, and I was like, I'm carrying a flamethrower with me if I ever go to Australia. But yeah.
It's an interesting country to live in. It's we talk about Americans with guns, but our wildlife's probably more dangerous.
I was gonna say y'all's wildlife is definitely. You got ants that'll fucking kill you. We ain't got ants that'll kill you.
You got brown recluses, y'all got like a whole bunch of snakes and whatnot. But anyway, so yeah, the Moto2 class, and it's crazy because I as a new fan of the sport, and who's still who's newly passionate about Americans competing in an international sport like this, right? Even for the World Cup, I'm like, yo, let's go America, even though we're definitely getting our ass smacked by Mexico or like whatever, because soccer is not really our sport, but or football. But I hang on to the small amounts of hope that we got. So Sean Dillon Kelly, please. I mean, I know we got Joe Roberts. I keep forgetting about Joe Roberts. But this is if I were to tell Sean Dillon Kelly something, it'd be this: SDK, you are Captain America, and I'm gonna need you to really, really step up out here in these streets. When Garrett Gerloff got that MotoGP ride, you don't know how proud I was as an American. The fact that he was able to plant those little butt cheeks in that seat, in Rossi's seat, that was amazing.
It was.
But the interesting thing is, we'll never know how close he came to getting that Petronas ride.
Yep. That's true.
He did well.
That was. He did, but he was on the radar for that ride for the next year, and there's potentially other things outside of motorcycle racing that played into that decision. That with
the Mafia.
Petronas being Petronas is a Malaysian oil company, and Malaysia is a Muslim country.
So Garrett is a Christian American from Texas.
He's an overtly Christian American, and that may have played into the reason why he didn't get that ride. We'll never completely know, but Could you
imagine?
Sure.
I can't do a Malaysian accent, so I'm just gonna speak in an American accent. But like, yo, Garrett, what are your women? Oh, what are your what's your outlook on women's equality? I think men and women should be equal. Sorry, guys, he's not gonna get this.
Next.
Yeah, like, I mean, Petronas, they wouldn't sort of impose anything on the team, I don't think. Not that it matters, they're gone now anyway. They're no longer sponsoring them. But yeah, that was an interesting time. I thought and it was great to see him when he replaced Rossi in that ride, because they basically said, you've got one job, and that is don't crash the motorcycle. And but he was actually quick. He did really well.
He did so good. He looked so good on that bike, man. And
imagine how terrifying it is when you turn up for your first ride on a MotoGP bike and you're on Valentino Rossi's bike,
and you're on Rossi's
and they say
bike,
don't crash it, and it's raining. Like, your first ride is in the wet.
And I think he did better than Maverick that year, right? Not that year, but like that
during that session, because I think he only did one session. I don't think he did. He didn't do the whole week.
He did a couple, I can't remember, but he didn't get right through it. But
because Rossi ended up coming back.
He recovered from COVID in like 3 days and was like, oh, shit, the American is so good. Fuck. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
give me my bike back.
That's it. Get off my bike, bitch.
Get off.
Yeah.
Speaking of Maverick, oh man, he looks so good.
Top Gun looks great. He does. He looks healthy mentally.
For now.
Tugs, I agree. For now, Tugs, right? I agree. But he's ever since he's got on that Aprilia, well, I take that back. Let me see. Ever since they've had more updates on it, he's coming more into his own, right?
Yeah, because he's not a motorcycle terrorist anymore.
Yeah, he's not so much of a hit or miss for now.
Look, I think he took it easy last year. I think he eased his way onto the bike and into the team, and he was very much aware that Aleix was the leader of that team, and Aleix was instrumental in him getting the ride. Aleix, went into bat for him and convinced Aprilia to employ him. But this year, gloves are off. I think we've mentioned on our podcast the bromance between the captain and the Top Gun is going to come to an end in a fiery screaming match in the pits at some stages, or in a gravel trap, shaking each other.
They almost had it. They almost had it a couple of times. Like, they almost freaking collided into each other a couple of times.
Yeah, it's Maverick. Look, ultimately, Maverick's a racer, and he's super, super fast. On his day, Maverick is one of the fastest couple of guys out there, you know. And the problem is, for Maverick, everything needs to be right. And the way he started the year, that's how he feels by the looks of it. Whether or not it continues that way, time will tell. What was interesting was today's race, where both of them underperformed, to be honest. I expect more from the Aprilia in the wet. It's a good handling motorcycle. It takes care of its tyres. It delivers its power beautifully. That bike should be much better in the wet than what it showed today. Aleix won there last year.
Yes,
so
he did.
It's a track
in
that
the dry.
He normally does well at. Yeah, so I was disappointed in their showing today. I thought they'll be disappointed with that result. I think they should do better than that. And I still believe Miguel Oliveira will hand them both their asses this year.
I think so too.
Satellite bike.
I do too. I do too, Tugs. I do.
Miguel's a fantastic rider, and the satellite bike. Make no bones about it. That RNF team running the satellite Aprilias, they're factory bikes. Aprilia is all over that thing. There's a lot of Aprilia money supporting that team, and Nothing happens in there without Aprilia knowing about it and having a hand in it. So it's almost like having 4 factory bikes on the grid. And Oliveira will get a lot of help and a lot of attention this year. And yeah, he'll be more consistent than the other two, I think. So once he gets back from injury.
Yeah, and I also think that Aprilia is one of the most well-rounded motorcycles on MotoGP grid right now.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what do you guys? My bad, Chris. I didn't mean to cut you off, but like, this goes to your point. What do you think Aprilia is missing?
What they were missing, if we go back to last year, I think what they were missing was talent. Okay. So both on the seat and on the spanners. And I heard from the Suzuki guys. So they picked up a bunch of guys from Suzuki, technical guys, smart technical guys. And one of them said to me after the Valencia test, he said, "I don't know how they didn't win the championship with this thing. The bike's good enough." He said they're just, and it was the kind of things where they've gone to these new technicians have come into the team and they've said, "Here's all our data. We're having issues with this and this and this," and it's, I'm paraphrasing, but they've pretty much gone, "Yeah, okay, well, you just do this and you just do this and you just do this, and there's your problem fixed," but the bike was already good. When a rider like Aleix, now, and don't get me wrong, Aleix is good, but he's not Pecco, he's not Jack, he's not one of these incredibly talented motorcycle racers. He's a good, hardworking, grafting rider. He's had, almost 300 starts for one win, in Grand Prix racing, So for him to have been running so close to winning the championship last year says a lot about the actual motorcycle. The motorcycle's fantastic. And I think with the injection of Oliveira this year, not only does that put more talent in the team, it puts more pressure on the other two. So, the other two have to step up now. I won't be surprised if this is Aleix's last year. I think if he doesn't perform as well as Maverick and Oliveira this year, he may well pull the pin at the end of this year. He's got another year after that, but I don't think his performance this year will be as good as it was last year.
Do you think if Maverick doesn't perform up to standard that he's on thin ice, or do you think that Aprilia is still going to keep him around?
No, Maverick's safe. The thing with Maverick is he'll probably win races. And then he'll win a race one week, and then he'll come 15th the next. That's always
that's his MO, right?
That's always what it is. Issue with Mav.
He's my dark horse, actually.
Nah, he's not a championship contender, I don't think. He's always lacked the consistency, even in the lower classes. Outright speed, up there, well and truly up there. When everything is right and he's happy, he's great.
I agree.
But I can't see him winning a championship.
What about the performance of Jorge Martin? Because me and Kris go back and forth with this, especially when the Beast versus Jorge factory seat debacle. I still think Jorge Martin has a lot of raw talent. It's just I feel like something's not clicking right, in my opinion. I mean, he ran here, or was he? He ran fifth today.
It was a good ride from him in the wet. Look, he is someone who, again, when you look at his qualifying performances, outright speed, he's one of the best.
Nasty, yeah.
It's just being able to set a bike up to get the best out of it over race distance. It has always been a little bit of an issue for him, and knowing where the limit is an issue for him. Mm-hmm. So. And that probably comes back to that ability to set a bike up and ability to feel where the limit is. But that will improve. So he'll get better at that with more time on the bike, So I think, we saw him crash 5 or 6 times last year.
Yeah.
Just of his own accord, and you can't be a championship contender if you're doing that. One of the reasons Pecco won last year was his consistency.
Yes, it was.
And that's why Fabio has won in the past, and that's why Joan Mir won in the past. It's consistency. You can't trowel it 5 or 6 times a year and win a title. It's not going to happen. So
Taka.
So he needs to get better at that. But I think he will. He will improve, and he'll also get better at knowing how fast you have to ride to win. And this is this is the thing that people, and I had this argument with Borry once on our show, and we were talking about, how fast you have to go to win a race. And the guy who wins a motorcycle race invariably has not gone out and ridden as fast as he possibly can for the entire 28 laps or whatever it is. All he's done is ride fast enough to beat the next guy.
Right.
The idea is to win the race by going as slow as you possibly can. So,
I agree.
Yes. You want to get to the checkered flag in front, but you don't want to go any faster than you absolutely have to do it.
That's right. That's right.
And that's where guys like Jorge need to find that balance.
That median, yeah.
And I don't think he'll be with Ducati next year either.
Look, there may well be a Yamaha seat available.
Yep.
Man, ultimately, every rider wants to be on a factory bike.
That's right.
And
of course,
and as you know, like Jack probably had the opportunity to stay with Ducati this year, more than likely back in the Pramac team.
Yeah.
But he wanted out. Everybody wants to be on a factory bike, even if it's with a team that is probably going to perform a bit lower, because you always have faith that a factory team can pull themselves out of it. And get somewhere, So, I think if Yamaha went to Jorge Martin to replace Frankie, you've got to remember Frankie's one of the few riders coming off contract at the end of this year.
Yes, it is.
Probably it's one of the very few seats that will be available.
Zarco's is too, correct? Zarco's is too. Zarco's is too up at the end of this year, correct?
I think so. Yeah. I think it might be, but there's not many.
DG.
The vast majority of the grid are already contracted for next year, so we won't have the silly season thing going on this year the way we did last year, because most of them are locked in.
And we only got one rookie of the year, so I'm sure he'll get that award anyway, right?
Yeah. Well, wasn't it interesting to watch Augusto getting stuck into Alicia Spargo today on the
on
the Aprilia? He's taking no prisoners. He's like, I don't give a fuck who you are.
I'm coming through, bitch. That's it. I'm coming fucking through. I love it.
Out of my way, Captain.
That's it. Slide it aside, Captain. That's it.
All I'm saying is that Toprak is out there.
Blackbeard's coming through.
Toprak, Rascats, and Super Glue. We're gonna need that dude in.
Man, I just look.
I know.
Listen. No. Look, what do you think about Toprak coming into MotoGP, Tugs?
Look, I don't know. I think Toprak probably should have pushed his claim last year and tried to get Frankie's seat this year. I think Toprak, from all reports, wasn't keen to move to MotoGP yet. He wanted to do another year in World Superbike. I have no idea why. If there's an opportunity to move to MotoGP, you take it, because you might not get another one. And the problem that he's got now is Bautista is going to win everything this year in World Superbike, right? So unless Bautista hurts himself, and this is a big chunk of the season, Toprak is not going to win the championship this year.
Also, the hunger doesn't feel like it's still there anymore. I don't know. Like, it doesn't feel like he's riding as crazy as he did that 2021 season, right?
Look, that class is pretty wild this year, though. It's the Ducati has improved again on what it was last year. It was the best bike in the field last year, and it's improved again
by a mile.
And it's by a mile. And Bautista's got a size advantage on everybody. He's good in the wet. He can ride in any conditions. You got to remember, he was a quality MotoGP rider and a quality Moto2 rider.
And a 250 rider back in the day. 252 strokes. So he was one of the few guys that has that 250, 125 Moto2 and Superbike experience, right?
That's right. He's a very well-rounded racer, and he will be. If he stays fit, he wins that championship again in a canter. So if I was Toprak, I'd be saying, well, get me out of here, get me onto a MotoGP bike.
Oh yeah.
So there's a couple of other things in the mix. Yamaha do need to get another satellite team going.
Yes.
So all of the factories are required to have a satellite team. So there's every chance that won't happen next year, because it takes a while to get all of those ducks in a row, and who's going to fund it? Who's going? I can't see any of the teams that run Ducatis moving. Grassini's very happy with Ducati. I can't see Valentino Rossi going back to Yamaha, although that would probably be Yamaha's preferred option, is to bring the VR46 team across. But Ducati's looking after that team very well too, so you'd be reluctant to go to Yamaha. Yamaha doesn't have a great history of taking good care of its satellite teams. Razzle and Razzly will tell you all sorts of stories about how difficult it was to deal with Yamaha.
So we're gonna need to find another. We're gonna need to find another factory support. McDonald's, Walmart, Target, Home Depot. Where you guys at? You know what I'm saying? Let's get this. Michael Jordan. Let's get another Yamaha team going. Let's get it.
You know where I also think the factory falls short too, man, is that I even if they're not in MotoGP, I think they all need to have a Moto3 team. Yamaha needs to have their own Moto3 team. I think all of them need to have their own Moto3 team to help, like KTM and Honda does, get those up and start them in that program where they up and come. You know, Rossi does have the VR46, but it's not on the same level as KTM and Honda have, right? And it's a cheap class for them to get in. Of course, I say cheaper than Moto2, right? Obviously, but it's a good way for up and coming. Yes, little kids to get in, right? So imagine if we had Kawasaki and MV Agusta and Ducati and all these Aprilia in Moto3.
The challenge is, what's the payoff? What's the payback for running a bike in Moto3? It's a class that's a prototype class, so it doesn't translate directly to a road motorcycle. So you can't point to it and go, that bike won on Sunday, so you should go out and buy it on Monday. So Moto3 is always a difficult one, which is why it ended up for a while running spec engines, and it's the same as Moto2. It's why Moto2 runs a Triumph motor. They need. And before that was a Honda motor. And, it's not, when we moved away from two-strokes, because you got to remember, when we had the two-stroke era, most of the scooters in Europe were two-strokes. So people used to look at it and go, well, I've got an Aprilia scooter, and Aprilia does really well in the 125 GP class. I'm going to buy an Aprilia scooter. That even correlated to scooter sales, let alone motorcycle sales.
Like that Rossi commercial.
But that's the problem now for Moto3 and Moto2 is, what does it translate to? What's the payoff for a manufacturer to sink money into it? Does Triumph get any recognition for being the engine supplier for Moto2? Does that pay off for them financially? Probably not. That's the difficulty. Why would Yamaha get involved in Moto3 unless they were going to try and somehow market the Yamaha R3 off that? But then they've got so many production classes around the world with Yamaha R3s running around in them, so that they don't need to do it. So that's the issue. As soon as you start to move away from production racing, the factories have less reason to be involved, and so that's always the challenge. I mean, you go back to, let's go back to when it was a two-stroke class, 250s and 125s. Most of the Japanese factories weren't involved.
That's true.
Suzuki played around on and off in the 250s. Honda was always involved in 125s and 250s. You didn't see Kawasaki very often. No. There was a bit of Yamaha action in the 250s. But even when we were running 125 two-strokes, you didn't see Yamahas that much. So,
no, you
didn't. So I don't know what the solution is there. But, I agree with you in principle. I think in principle you're correct. But I'm not sure how you fund it.
Yeah. Would be nice. It would be nice. You know what I mean? But
it's a money game, man.
All money game, right? That's what it is.
It's tough, bro. That's why it's tough. And I tried to explain to because the main thing, I've said it before, that the Pin the Gas podcast is to make the sport of motorcycle racing accessible to your person next door, right? Your neighbor. And then they asked me how do you become good at this thing? Is it you just have to be good at racing? I'm like, nah, bro, you gotta have money to be in this sport. It's not like basketball where you can just buy a basketball from your local supermarket, go down the street, become great at shooting, and then hopefully someone notices you and you go straight to the NBA, right? It's not like that here. You gotta spend money, you gotta have money. So it's always difficult in that aspect, and there's a lot of people that would love to see race at the highest level if money wasn't so much of an issue. But boys, we are approaching the hour and a half mark. I actually have a segment I want to do with Tug Tugs real quick. But before I do that, Kris, is there anything you would like to say before I segue into it?
Tugs, it's been an honor to have you on, man. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to doing this again with you guys. I'd love to have all three of you guys on the podcast.
Yeah, it's crazy shit.
And Fredo. Yeah.
We're gonna need like a 2-hour block for that shit. 3 hours.
That's all right.
Yeah. That could be a bit out of control. Yeah.
That's all right.
just half.
No, it's a pleasure, man. And Kris, I remember that phone call we had when I can't remember if you rang me or I rang you or whatever it was, and on FaceTime and I think we talked for about 2 hours. Didn't we?
We did, yes. It was great. It was great, man. That's one thing I love about podcasting. I get to reach out to like you and everybody else, and we just, man, it's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, it's blown our minds. I mean, we started our podcast 3 years ago now, coming up on 3 years, and to be honest, we thought we'd do 3 episodes and then give it away and go to the pub and get drunk and laugh at how stupid an idea it was. But
and then now look at you.
We had no idea it would become what it's become. And it's good fun. But it's amazing how the contact we get from people. I'm sure you guys are the same. You know, people contact us all the time and saying they love the show and they get a lot out of it. It's a buzz. It's good.
Yeah, I took my inspiration. So Kris joined in around our 3rd episode, right? But when I put this together, I came with the inspiration from you guys because I was sick and tired of listening to Crash MotoGP. I was sick and tired of listening to their garbage fake podcasting from MotoGP that they had for a little bit. That was terrible. So I was like, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start my own shit. You know what I mean? Because like I also wanted to make the sport, you know, bigger here, like to my friends. I wanted to be a conversation piece between some of my friends. I'm sick of talking about basketball and football all the time. Like let's talk about some racing, you know, some racing. Now, this segment that I want to do with you, Tugs, is that there are 10. We had our top 10 riders this weekend. I'm gonna say their names, and you're gonna give me a quick, like 5-second opinion on what you think. It could be anything that pops into mind. So for example, if I said Miguel, for example, if I said Miguel Oliveira, I'd be like, fucks his sister. You know what I mean? So, all right. So do you get it?
Sorry.
You get it?
Let's do
it. All right. Starting at number 10, Fabio Di Gianantonio.
This will be his last year in MotoGP.
Alex Rins.
Alex will end up being the highest point scorer for Honda this year.
Ooh, spicy. Luca Marini.
Half the genetics, a quarter of the talent.
Facts. That was great.
This was great. Fabio Quartararo.
Oh, one day he'll be living on the Riviera with Jorge Lorenzo.
Making out.
Sharing an apartment.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's sexy. Jack Miller.
Jack's the king. I just want Jack to win a world title one day. Please make it happen. It would just be, it will be the most popular championship win ever. The whole paddock will just be.
Facts.
They all,
Facts.
Yeah, everyone loves him. So.
Yes.
Jorge Martin.
Fast but fluky.
Franco Morbidelli.
Oh, come on,
Confused.
Frankie. Fuck. No, I love Frankie. He needs to win a race. He needs to win a race in the next 2 rounds, or he needs 2 podiums. Otherwise, he's done. If he this weekend was good, but you know he's got a month. Otherwise, they'll be queuing up for his seat.
Alex Marquez.
Will surprise a lot of people this year.
I was gonna say the new favorite of the father, but that's good. That's a good one.
That's facts, right? New favorite of the father, man.
That's a good one.
He's no longer the spare parts bin.
No, he's not, right? And I always would say like him and Marquez talk, right? So I wonder if Marquez is got it in his ear, like, hey, I need a Ducati now, right? I need a different bike, right?
You're the fast guy now, but remember, I have 8, you have 0. I don't know. Johan Zarco at number 2.
Needs a haircut weekly. His hair grows faster than any man I've ever seen.
And he needs a shave for sure.
Yeah. Hey, did you guys see him play guitar and sing at Zach Miller's wedding?
Yes, I did.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna pause that segment.
It was fantastic, Tugs. I was like, holy shit, yes.
So Zach Miller got married the week before the Phillip Island Grand Prix last year, and Johan Zarco came to the wedding. And as you can imagine, that wedding was full of motorcycle people.
Of course.
And Zarco, he got up with his guitar and he'd written a song for Jack and Ruby.
He did.
He sang the song, yeah.
And it was really good.
He's actually a brilliant pianist.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you can find some footage of him playing piano, he's very good on the piano.
Wait, the whole guitar thing, this was 5 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see if I'll pull it up if the...
I don't know if it's on YouTube. Damien Cudlin was there. He sent me a video that he took on his phone, but I don't know if it's public.
I think I seen it either on Instagram or Twitter is where I seen it.
Might have been on Instagram. Damien, I think Damien might have put it on Instagram.
I had more of a positive outlook on the quickfire for you, the Resurgence Part 2, because last year, for a little bit, he was the best Ducati rider for a little bit. So I was like, oh shoot, the Resurgence of Johan Zarco, and then this year he's not doing terrible. Well, the Resurgence Part 2.
Yeah, look, I think I've had a lot of people say to me, "Oh, this will be the end of Zarco. He won't continue after this year or this contract. He won't get another contract after this one just because of his age." But I think people are underestimating the value that Ducati place on his input as a test rider as well. They take a lot of notice of what Johan says in terms of bike development. So Ducati likes having him around. So don't be surprised if he continues on.
And he's fast. I mean,
and he's fast.
Look what he did today.
And so,
he's intelligent. He's a smart racer.
He's very smart.
I have the video right here. I'll play it for you guys in a second.
Sponsors love him. Kids love him. I mean, he's very approachable and genuine, and that plays a role in everything.
We need to see a backflip. We have to,
dude.
It has to happen this year.
I thought it was going to happen today. Well, Bezecchi was too far ahead.
I'm still terrified that that's what will end Zarco's career. He'll win a race and it'll be a terrible backflip accident, and that'll be the end of him.
So last one, Marco Bezzecchi.
Bez.
Marco Bazooka.
I don't know. I got a lot of time for Bez. For some reason, I haven't clicked with him. Like I love the beast. Enea Bastianini, I love. I love the beast. I love his attitude.
I like Enea too.
And Bez is a little bit similar, but maybe that's why I haven't quite clicked with Bez the same way. He's very similar to the beast. But here we go. There's Johan.
Everything is fine. That's your
Right,
isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Okay.
How feels that?
Wow.
But it just goes to show though how good these guys are off track. Like how many of them actually get on really well. And,
right.
What a nice guy.
On track they're all murderers. They're
gotta
all
be
homicidal, axe-wielding maniacs.
Right.
But, off track, they have a lot of respect for each other, and a lot of them get on well. And people always say to me, "Oh, they must all hate Marc Marquez." And so, actually, no, a lot of them like him. He doesn't wander around the paddock with no friends. Like he gets on well with a bunch of them. And, there's some that don't, but
the Americans don't know that though. So let's make it a drama.
Tell that to people in Portugal last weekend.
That too.
The Portuguese don't like
right.
It,
I'm surprised he made it out the country. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, we
need to hate.
We need to make this sport bigger here, because if we make it bigger here, it adds to our success in the long term. So definitely rooting for America on that one. It's been a great 2 races in MotoGP. In a couple weeks, we're going to have Austin. I'm going to run into Kris for the first time. We're going to meet each other for the first time.
Have you guys not met?
No,
never met in person.
Never met in person.
He lives about 5.5 hours away from me.
Yep. He lives in New York. I live in Virginia.
Yep. Yep.
Man, 5.5 hours. That's nothing in
No, it ain't
Australia.
nothing. No, yeah, right. It's nothing here too. We're gonna meet there, and then at the end of the year, I'm going to New Jersey for the last round of Moto America, and so I'll see him there.
Cool. So
and then I'm actually going to Europe for the British Superbike round for Caldwell Park this year. I can't wait for that too.
Yeah,
awesome.
when
you get over there, make sure there's 2 Aussie boys you need to hook up with when you get there. So one of them's called Jacob Hatch. Jacob's riding in the 600 class. And there's another young guy riding in the 600 class in BSB this year called Tom Taparis. We call him Motorcycle Jesus over here. So he's got long hair. He's a beautiful, beautiful man. They're both young guys, both really good young guys. You'll have a ball.
I will.
It's gonna be awesome.
That'll be great.
Chris is gonna have a ball over there. So yeah, this is gonna be my first time meeting him in Austin and Coda, and then I'm gonna see him again in New Jersey. He's got a hotel room. We're gonna sleep in the same bed together. It's gonna be wonderful. It's going to be a great.
So that'll be the end of your podcast. You're all over after that.
He snores too much. Can't take it. No, but it's
man, you're fat in your sleep.
That's it. What the
why
fuck
are you
is wrong with
sweating?
you?
Why are you sweating?
Yeah, why are you so fat, man? What the fuck?
Why are you sleeping on your back? Like,
hey, I don't snore. I have a CPAP machine, so it's just.
I snore. I snore. Yeah. You have a CPAP machine? I never. What?
Yeah, I got a CPAP machine, man.
Oh shit! You have sleep apnea?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
It's not because I'm fat either, because I'm not fat.
No, he's not fat. He's not fat. He does like 200 push-ups every morning. You know what I mean?
Brother, I have sleep apnea too, so I get it.
Yeah, I think I'm on the border. I think that's like the new thing for everyone. But again, it's been an honor having you here, Grandmaster. Like it's a wonderful time. I enjoyed picking your brain. I know Kris had a really good time.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being here, man. It was a wonderful time. I hope you had as much fun here as Bori did. And Fredo, we're coming for your ass, bro. Pause.
That's it. We coming
to get you on here.
I didn't spend as much time attacking your culture as Bori did. So
it's okay.
We loved it, yo. We loved it. Oh my
yeah.
God, it was great. It's fun.
It's all part of the fun. Yeah, it's all part of the fun.
We shit on
shit, man. We don't take it personal. We fucking love it because we talk shit too. That's what it's about.
If I knew more about Australia, I'd gun after you guys, but I don't know that much besides the fact that you guys have like demons living out in the desert.
Oh man, they live in my yard. I live on a property. We've got horses and dogs and snakes and all sorts of shit, rabbits and wombats and
hell no. Hell no,
man. Drive out my driveway every morning. It's just like this 200-meter driveway, and it's like trees on one side and fence on the other side. It's just spider webs. Your car's covered in spider webs after you drive through the rest of the morning.
No, thank
and you're just driving along for the next hour, waiting for one of those fuckers to climb in the door of your car.
No, thank you.
Set my car on fire, goddamn it. Yeah, I was gonna say I pull over, set my goddamn car on fire, motherfucker.
Like after the Australian Jesus Christ known as Steve Irwin passed, I don't trust shit over there. But
it's all good.
Yeah, but man, honestly, we always invite our guests to come through a second time. Hopefully we can get you, Bori, and Fredo on at one time. We'll definitely have a block for that because that'd be hilarious. You know what I'm saying? But again, Grandmaster Tug McClutchin, everyone, thank you so much for coming on and
cheers, boys. Thanks for having me.
Speaking with us. And so if you guys enjoyed the show, go ahead and leave a like and comment down below. If you're on YouTube, leave us a subscription, leave us a like, share a video, do whatever it is to get our names out there as well as Tug's names. He is actually, Tug, let me get you, just plug in your work, your podcast, your page, whatever you want to plug in. Go ahead.
Well, our podcast is just called Motopg, and PG for parental guidance. Very much recommended. We do things a little bit differently.
I fucking love it.
Yeah, they do.
I fucking love it.
They're hilarious. You can find them on Spotify. Where else can they find you? Spotify?
Everywhere. All of the podcast platforms you'll find it. So,
that's what we're trying to do, Kris and I. So we'll definitely be following in their footsteps. You know what I mean? So thank you guys for showing us some love.
Because remember, we ripped off your fucking show.
Yeah, we did. we're the bootleg version. You know what I'm saying?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. Usually it's Australia stealing shit from America, so it's all good.
We got you back this time.
Take that, motherfuckers.
That's awesome. I love it.
No, look, my take on that is it's like more power to you because, man, I think one of the reasons that the sport doesn't get the publicity that it deserves is because of the people who cover it. And you'll have noticed in our show we get stuck into some of these people who call themselves journalists and they shit can the sport and they want to say bad things about it because they're trying to generate clicks for themselves and all of this stuff, and most of them don't know what the fuck they're talking about most of the time, and it drives us nuts. And
we're looking at you, Anderson.
Yeah, and Fredo and I obviously have a background in the sport, and I've done some racing and certainly not at that level, but I know what it feels like to be on a race bike, and I know what it feels like to fall off one, and so we kind of get it, and we appreciate what the riders do, and we'll sit and pass judgment on them and say jokes about them, but fuck, we love them. These guys are gods. They are people who just ride motorcycles normally. They can't remotely understand what these guys do. It's not like, I drive a car, I could be a race car driver. Like, no, you fucking can't. You can't do that with a motorcycle. It's special. These guys are special.
Yeah,
and we love them. We adore them, and it's why we want to pay homage to them the way we can and bring people to the sport to watch it. And that's what we do. That's why we do what we do.
Amen. And on that note,
and if you're doing the same thing, all good with me. Like,
hell yeah.
Great.
Hell yeah. We took it for you guys, like the American version. All star spangled awesome.
That's right.
But anyway, again, thank you so much for jumping on. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in and leaving us a comment. And any criticism is good criticism. So on that note,
don't criticize me. Don't fucking criticize me.
Don't
Go on, I'll come after you.
Go on MotoPG Facebook and just shit on everything.
Shit all over them, yeah.
That's right.
We're coming for you guys.
Team Pin the Gas versus Team MotoPG dodgeball tournament coming soon. So we'll get that going. Awesome. I'm cool. So like I said, I'm Cool Jules. That is Kris, the whole effing show Simko, and the Grandmaster of MotoPG, Mr. Tug McClutchin. Everybody have a wonderful day, night, wherever you are. Peace.
Bye, everyone.